Hey guys, VaulSC here. Hope that you're having a great week. I want to take you through a battle report today of a game that I played in real life yesterday, obviously with the photos, the classic VaulSC bat rep. I know that I haven't been doing a lot of these lately. This year in 2021, I think I've played a total of 3 games outside of tournaments and stuff. To do bat reps on, and the last couple of them just didn't get around to doing them. Also, didn't have that much to say about the actual game. But I did play a game last night, which I will comment on. It is Combined Army against Tunguska, and some of the things that happen in the game will give me cause to comment on Infinity and N4 in general. So why don't you stick around and watch with me as we go through the bat rep. But yeah, in general, in future, I probably won't be doing as many of these. I've just got so much content to cover with TTS games and leagues and events and stuff. And of course, I'm really enjoying the comedy sketches that we're filming, and I hope you guys are liking those as well. I know that everybody likes something different. Some people tell me that they're only in it for the hardcore analysis stuff. Other people just like the bat reps. Other people are really liking the comedy stuff. To be honest, I don't really look at things like views and feedback when I decide what to do videos on. It factors in a little bit, but ultimately I just generally do what is going to motivate me the most. If I was really wanting to try to cater to an audience and get a lot more views, I probably wouldn't cover Infinity, to be honest. But hey, we love Infinity, and I'm still going to be doing that for a while. Cool, ran over. Let's talk about this game, which is going to be using a custom mission called Info Sweep, which was a mission I created a while back, but I didn't end up really using it in any of my leagues. I have since made a whole bunch of other new missions, which I feel like are better, but my friend Garth is organising a big New Zealand tournament later in the year called INZO, which stands for Infinity New Zealand Open, I think. And he's actually chosen one of my missions to play in his tournament, which is very flattering, and I appreciate it. But ironically, it's the one mission I've actually not even playtested myself. But me and my opponent Matt here are going to be playing on it in this particular game. And I'll just give you a very brief rundown. If you guys want to try this mission yourself, just check out the link in the video description. But here you go. Players are deploying on these sides of the table here, and there is an exclusion zone somewhere around this little line, so you can't deploy in this middle section through here. There is an objective room with the doors open at all times, and then there are 6 objectives alongside it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what happens is that scoring's generally done towards the end of the game, like a lot of missions, but it's not done at the end of the game. It's done in 2 rounds at the end of each player's final list of turns. So I have my turn, you have your turn, that's game round 1. I have my second turn, you have your second turn, that's the end of game round 2. I have my third turn, at the end of that turn there is a round of scoring, and then you have your third turn, at the end of that turn there is a round of scoring. So effectively, if you thought of the turns as numbered 1 through to 6, with me being 1, 3, and 5, and you being 2, 4, and 6, we are scoring at the end of player turn 5 and player turn 6. And at the end of those player turns, we simply look to see what each player has got. If I've got more of these objectives than you, for example, if I've got these 3 and you've only got 1, then I get 2 points. If I have control of the room, meaning that I have more points with the stuff in it than you, and I have at least something in the room, then I also get 2 points. So after I've played out my 3 turns, and I've just made that push into the middle of the table to grab the objectives, I get 4 objective points, which you can't then take back off me. To get 4 objective points yourself, if you're the player going second, you have to sweep in, crush all my guys, and get the points that way. Now, there's a tiebreaker of 1 point if you have more army kills. And the idea here, guys, is that even though it feels very symmetrical, it's hard to stop one player from sweeping in and grabbing all the objectives. If it comes down to that tight and narrow game, there's typically going to be a winner because one person's going to get more army kills. There's also another tiebreaker where if you kill the enemy's data tracker, who's typically going to be hiding in their deployment somewhere, you get another bonus point. FYI, for this game, we both forgot to nominate data trackers. I read a statistic somewhere where 68%, no, I'm making that up, of players forget to nominate data trackers for every Infinity game. But the idea here, guys, is that it's a balanced mission. It doesn't strictly favor going first or second, and you have to make use of your entire length of the game to get an advantage. Also, to encourage people to actually spend some time in the room before the last game round. If you're in the room, you get a bonus to picking up the objectives. You get an additional dice and +3. So it's not really about being a particular type of specialist, like an engineer or a doctor. If you control the room, then you have the objective grabbing bonus. If you don't control the objective room, well, then you don't. So it's actually a pretty easy mission to understand after all that, and kind of balanced. My analysis of it after playing this is that it can be pretty good to go first. Your opponent in round 2 would have to commit quite heavily to stop you from pushing in your last turn, and because you're going to be pushing in your last turn anyway, you're going to be leaving guys out there to ARO your opponent to stop them from sweeping in and taking everything back from you. So it's a great mission to go first, which is actually kind of unusual in this day and age with different missions. But overall, the middle of the game is very important, because if you gain board control during the second game round and you do a lot of damage, then you might be able to grab the objectives and completely stop your opponent from getting back because they've lost too many specialists or just can't really control the room, and you'll actually sail to a major victory. So give this mission a go, guys. It's very good. So, the lists. I've been wanting to play this little list here for a while now, because it is my version of the current, optimized avatar list in the meta. I think everybody who's tried out Combined Army or looked at Combined Army in the Army Builder has some sort of version of this. This is not some sort of super original and innovative groundbreaking list. This is just the avatar list with all of the most optimized things in it, and everyone's got their own version of it. This here is my version. So the avatar, the most powerful tag in the game, and possibly the most powerful model in the game. It's certainly super overcosted. I won't go through the big breakdown of this video about why, but you'd always take the version with the +1 order, because apparently the Strategos ability turns that additional lieutenant order into a regular order as well. So you're starting with 12 regulars in Group 1, plus a tactical awareness order for the tag, which I don't really need to explain to you guys, is brutal. Norkius, if you haven't watched my beautiful unboxing video starring the lovely Kim, please go and watch that, because it's a really fun video. Norkius, one of my favorite models in the game. I definitely think top 10 most overpowered units. Very, very effective. Bit and Kiss, for some stupid reason, Corvus Belli changed Bit and Kiss, so they now have a profile where Kiss also has a pitcher to replace the repeater that it had naturally, and that pitcher has +1 burst for some reason. So you always take this profile here that has the pitcher, and so what happens here is that you move Bit and Kiss out, you shoot a volley, and Kiss fires one pitcher, Bit fires one pitcher, Kiss fires 2 of them, and you've got a volley of 3 of them going down, which makes it so easy to land the pitchers, and then you clear up any hackers they have with Bit or with Norkius. And even if you want to total control the tag with Norkius or Oblivion them with Bit, it's really disgusting for the points you pay for them. The Caliban is a wonderful midfielder. He's a button-pressing specialist, but more importantly, he can use a slave drone to repair the avatar, which has remote presence now, which means you get rerolls because it has that ability. So very, very important, because you don't want your avatar to go down to unconscious and then have to be removed from the game table because of mnemonica. If it's your active turn and you're trying to take down some sort of missile launcher on a link team, you want to be able to get him back to full strength with the Caliban, and that's why that model is there. Because we're paying for all of these costly units, even though they're undercosted, they still cost a lot of points. We still have the R-drones, Echidron, Emitrons naturally in there, of course. The Greif Operator is a very cheap attack piece for when you don't want to commit Bit, Norkius, or the Avatar, but you still want to trade a few things or take out a few flashbots. But the other reason why you like to take him is that in a defensive kind of role, when you know your opponent's just going to be going for the jugular, you can deploy him next to your avatar, which means the avatar cannot be attacked by weapons that have a template. Because if the Greif Operator is captured by the template, or capture's not the right word, if it's touched by the template going down on the avatar, because he's right next to it, then that template becomes a null attack. So rocket launchers trying to deny the avatar cover with the template won't work. You have to go hit mode. But even more importantly, if the avatar is hit by a spotlight or forward observer and gets targeted, and they try to hit him with a guided missile, it won't work because the guided missile always has a template, and the template will clip the Greif operator, which is a friendly model because of impersonation, making the attack null, and your avatar is saved. Even though the avatar to begin with was a very hard model to spotlight because it's got ECM guided -6 and willpower 17 and BTS 9, blah blah blah. Not that the BTS helps, but you know what I'm trying to say. It is a very good list for stopping that. And then in Group 2, separately, you've got the screen of Tigers and Liberto. This is really great just for stopping your opponent from getting into the meat of your army if they are trying to alpha strike you. The Tigers shut down stealth with their Sixth Sense. They're really good at dodging into close combat, and they're so good at trading in the mid-game and the midfield with dodging around a corner, with their ability to dodge very far on Phys 16 with the +3. And then they just berserk you from 12 inches away and double action you in the face, which is crazy. So this list is just so optimized. There's not an ounce of fat on it. It feels like when you're playing a list like this that you're kind of putting down 350 points worth of models rather than 300. And this is one reason why some of the weaker factions struggle in the meta, is because they just don't have access to the super efficiency of some of these profiles. And we'll talk again at the end of the video about my feelings on faction balance here. My opponent is running something like this list. This is not an accurate representation of it. It is very close to it. I don't know what groups the models were in, and I don't 100% know what each of the profiles consisted of, but I do know that this is very close to what he had. Salamandra for Tunguska, it's decent. You always want some kind of HMG, and I don't think the HMG options for the Link team are that great. The Grenza, you want to take the multi-sniper rifle at all times, and the Securitate HMG is not really that wonderful. The Salamandra is a bit better at doing that, so I recommend the Salamandra for sure. Grenza Marksmanship is just, again, one of those models on par with the Bolt multi-sniper, the Camel multi-sniper, the, I don't know, the Unidron and Dakini snipers. They are auto-include, must-take, overpowered profiles, and they kind of make the rest of the Grenza profiles a bit boring. You'd never want to take the missile launcher just because the sniper's so much better. 5 points is always worth it for marksmanship and the better range bands of the multi-sniper. Doesn't really matter about the extra damage. You know, you can take the other Grenzas, like the NCO, for example, is pretty cool, but the sniper's where it's at. The marksmanship is just so important. So you add them to the Link team here. Everything here looks fine. The Heckler looks fine. Great for the Emorat. I do like the Interventor over here not being the Lieutenant, so if you do get hacked and killed, that saves you, but having the Interventor there is kind of nice. I suspect he probably took the Fast Panda profile, given that he's got a couple of points left over, so let me just swap that out. So Interventor with the Fast Panda, let me just enlarge this a little bit, would have been it. Puppet Master without the Puppet Bots, I think, is a mistake. The Puppet Bots, I mean, they're definitely top 10 profiles in the game in terms of them as a unit. I personally think that this Puppet Bot troop, where you take one Puppet Master, one Red Fury, one AP Marksman Rifle, and a couple of boarding shotguns, that setup is the #1 thing in N4, period. Out of all the factions, having Puppet Masters and Puppet Bots available to you is more desirable than any other possible thing. Overall, as a whole, you have to take into account what else you can include in your list. But Puppet Masters is one of the reasons why Nomads are the top dog, strongest, right up there with, you know, Combined Army and Assassins, OSS, Toha, that kind of thing. But my opponent here has chosen not to take them, which is fine. You know, sometimes you want to experiment a bit and just see what life is like without them. But these guys are just really so powerful and just so useful in an N4 list that I'd recommend that if you're wanting to win tournaments and stuff, you should be using the Puppet Master. One of these profiles is fine. I'd usually go for the Mine Layer or just the basic SMG, and then you want to take AP Marksman plus 2 boarding shotguns, and you're set. You are really at an advantage over your opponent if you have them in your list. Vostok Albedos, this is a cute one. Vostoks, I kind of like the FTO version in the Fire team more so than anything else, because the mimetism -6 is a big deal, and the ability to join a link team is a big deal. If he's just off on his own, it's too easy for him to lose sort of stray shootouts with people and trying to take on the big boys like the tags and the people in link teams. He's not great at that. The Red Fury, I feel like, just doesn't cut through much armor. So yeah, the Vostok is a cute choice. I love the fact that he's very speedy and mobile with his climbing plus and the speed and everything. But yeah, Matt's trying out the Red Fury. I quite like the Mimetism -6 FTO guy if you're playing in a sectorial. Then of course the biker hacker. I don't know about the normal biker hacker. He kind of needs a picture or something. The Spitfire would normally be the way I would go on this. But yeah, it's kind of cool for jumping around and pressing buttons. Like, he's built this list for my custom mission, so it does make sense that he wants a specialist just zooming around and bopping those buttons, right? Cool, let's have a look at this game then. So this is mostly Matt's terrain, a little bit of it's mine, and the 40k stuff in the background is just marking the edge of the table. So, what happens here is I win the dice roll with my Willpower 17 Lieutenant and opt to take this table side over here. I'm just going to change out my color. Let's go for a nice, let's go for red. So this is my table side here. I'm going first. Matt has chosen this table side over here, obviously making me deploy first. So let's have a look at what that ended up being. So this is a view of my deployment zone. This is a view of his deployment zone right here. Let me just make my cam a little bit smaller. Okay, so this is the extreme right-hand side of my deployment zone with the right-hand corner of my table right here. This tiger creature can't really be seen because all of this building's blocking the way, so it's just going to be moving up towards that door. Then you got the Imatron back here. Icadron over here, another tiger towards the middle. We'll get a bit of a better photo of this. By the way, I bought a new cell phone the other weekend, and I was just having trouble doing these bat reps with my big DSLR camera, trying to focus on things, and my old cell phone kind of sucked with the camera. And of course, now that I'm taking really good pictures and putting them through Lightroom as well, hopefully the quality of this really improves quite a bit. So in the middle, we've got Bit and Kiss just sitting there because they want to move out towards the room, and they're trying to look for angles where they can fire those pitches past a couple of buildings and start causing a lot of trouble in the first turn. If I can eliminate a hacker or two, or if I can possess his tag, and then he's got to sort of fight back at me, eventually I'm going to get the upper hand if we just keep exchanging like that. So Imatron at the back, Bit and Kiss towards the middle. Towards the left of that, we've got Norkius behind a wall here, just hanging out, just looking for an opportunity to speed around through the table and go this direction, or into the room itself, and just find a target where he can impersonate first, use Marker State as cover, and then jump into close combat and start gaining some wounds by leeching them off other people. We have, obviously, a extremely obvious Liberto there and his mine there, because one has Mimetism, the other doesn't, so your opponent will always know 100% of the time. Tiger creature at the back. That is my Caliban engineer up the front with the attached helper bot over here. And I've placed him in such a way that the avatar could be deployed here next to where the one engineer is, or over here next to where the helper bot is, and he'll have access to medical care wherever he goes. On the left-hand side of my deployment, this is the extreme left-hand corner here. As you can see, Tiger ready to go up the flank. Another Tiger ready to go through there. Caliban about to bop this button right here. Our drone on the bottom left. And there's, of course, Norkius and Bit and Kiss there. So that's my deployment in a nutshell. My opponent is setting up his Grenzer Sniper on this building, watching the longest fire lane he can, even though he knows that I'm going first, and he knows that he's up against an avatar. I've already told him at this point. I've had to declare the willpower value of my lieutenant, and I've actually said to him straight up, hey, I'm keeping 2 models reserved because of Strategos, and by the way, surprise, surprise, I'm playing an avatar. So he knows this, and yet he has made the conscious decision to deploy all of these troops here. So Securitate in the building, Intervender over here, and the Grenzer up on the top of the table. So he knows here that I can attack him with the avatar first turn. And we sort of had a bit of a talk about this during the game and after the game. And I said to him, look, if you have that information, do you think it's the wisest thing to put the Grenzer there? And this is a question for you guys to answer in the comments if you want, or think about it for your own games. If you know what your opponent's attack piece is going to be first turn, do you put out your ARO piece knowing that if you don't, your opponent can just rush across the table? And if you do, your opponent can directly attack that piece. He does have shock immunity, so he might be able to be revived by the paramedic. But let's look at the numbers, because my opponent also wanted to check this out as well, so I've decided to include it in the video. Dice Calculator has been updated. It may still have errors, as they say, and I may not have selected the right options. I see that they get you to do it in a sort of custom way nowadays, so I've gone active player tag, BS 15, whip, armor 19, the relevant stat says structure 3. So I haven't filled in the rest of that because it's not really needed. And then I've gone mimetism -6 for the avatar, vitality level 1 for being a tag, shooting, custom weapon, AP because, shock immune Grenza, burst 4 for the HMG, BS attack, saving on armor there, damage 15. And then range is going to be good because he's going to be able to get good range with his HMG from that angle. And no link team. And I haven't checked cover. Even though I'm going to get cover, marksmanship is going to ignore cover. I should point out that marksmanship ignores the face-to-face -3 penalty, but it doesn't ignore the +3 armor the avatar would get for cover, which is a big deal. So this estimate is actually more conservative than it should be. I should really be calculating the avatar having armor, but I just wasn't sure if the marksmanship being chosen over here would actually do that correctly. So on Nomad's side, we've got light infantry, BS 13, armor 3, that's relevant, wounds 1, cool. Multi-spectral visor level 1, because he does have that, which reduces the avatar's mimetism down to -3 from 6. Marksmanship, none, just because I've given the avatar no cover. So instead of adding it there, I'm just going to assume that, it's completely ignoring the cover. Which it isn't, but we're going to assume that it is anyway. So this is favorable for the Nomads here, Tunguska. So he's shooting back, custom weapon that has AP, because the sniper's better off with AP against the avatar's armor 9 than it is with double action in most cases. BS, armor saves, physical, all that looks good. Range, yeah, he's going to be in the good range man with the sniper, and of course he's in a 5-man link team. And he does have cover. So when we roll the dice, it comes up as this, and I don't really think that my opponent was really expecting it to be this. 43.58% chance that the avatar does 1 wound, which is enough to basically give me a big advantage going to the game. 18% chance that I just completely remove the Grenza with no opportunity for the paramedic to revive him, which is kind of crushing. 44% chance that nobody succeeds. That's kind of good for Nomads, but the avatar doesn't really care that much because he just starts with so many goddamn orders. It's effectively 13 for him. -2 for, the command token at the start of the game, so 11 orders. If he misses a couple of times or shots bounce off either player, he can just keep spending them. So an 11% chance to do 1 wound on the avatar, that's not very high, and the other problem is that if that happens, the Caliban activates, heals that 1 wound back up with rerolls from the command token because of remote presence, and then the avatar tries again. A 1% chance of doing 2 wounds, in which case, again, you just use the avatar to heal them back, and a 0.04% chance of just putting them straight to unconscious, which, again, means you just revive them with the Caliban, and the chances of anything greater than that happening, it's just not really in the conversation. So, coming back to this, would you put your Grenza there if you're up against an avatar? I don't think that I would. I would be trying to put around some AROs just because I don't want Norkius rushing in and clearing me out. I don't want Tiger Creatures crawling all over me, or I don't want Bit and Kiss too easily putting down the pitches. So it's a tough matchup, and we'll talk about game balance at the end of this commentary. But the Grenz is probably better off in a position where he's just covering like a different angle, like along the side or through here, or just somewhere where the avatar has to work a bit harder to get to him, if you know what I'm saying. So Link Team in the room there, he's got his Vostok towards the middle of the deployment zone, that's the walker up there. Right hand side we've got the dismounted biker staying prone, using this guy for his chain rifle. This is a baggage bot near the side of the table, and then just another photo of that. My reserve trooper is a Greif operator sitting very close to his Link Team, just in case I get the opportunity just to poke around and attack his war core or pick off a flash bot, or generally to be annoying, because if he's ignored, then I can stand up later and shoot him from behind when he's trying to get into the objective room over there. So I quite like this position. I did note that his reserve trooper could be something to counter this, like a Spectre standing right next to it, but honestly, if the Greif operator baits out that kind of counter deployment, he's already really kind of helping there, to be honest. And from this kind of Tunguska list, I'm not really expecting a mine layer reserve trooper. Because there's a big gap in points, I'm expecting either the tag or just something really big and beefy. Here, of course, is my reserve trooper number 2, the Avatar himself in all his glory. Strategos level 2 means that you can actually keep 2 troopers in reserve rather than just 1. So camera's looking really good. My opponent with the big bad tag right behind his building here. This is a decent spot for him because honestly, if he puts him in an ARO position, he just can get shot by the Avatar and just start taking damage. He hasn't taken an engineer. It's just not a very good look. So I agree with him being back behind here, total cover, just watching out the sides. So he's quite well protected, as you can see, with the Link team. It's going to be hard for me to get this guy with Norkius or Tiger Creatures. The problem, though, is this. My strategy... I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to go this color. My strategy this turn is going to be to move Bittenkiss through here, fire the pitches through there, land them around this sort of location, and see if I can hack this guy to death. Even though he's BTS 9, if I Trinity enough times, that'll remove him, and that's going to shorten the Link team down, meaning the Grenz is less effective, and I can even total control this guy. And if I have so many orders from the Avatar, a total control, HRMC at the back line here, all I have to do is move them around, just start spraying everything down from behind. So I think you guys can visualize here why that's such a dangerous tactic. What ended up being the case, though, is when I went to move out with Bittenkiss, I saw that the Grenza actually had a line just to that window, so I kind of misdeployed them a little bit, but hey, I was planning on attacking the Grenza anyway. It just didn't give me an opportunity to remove the 5th man or the Link team before I attacked the Grenza, which of course would have made the Avatar's job a lot easier. So, this is what the hideous Avatar list order pool looks like. 12 orders, plus the combined army token representing a tactical awareness order, 5 irregulars in group 2. My opponent spends a command token to remove these 2 from group 1, leaving me with 10, plus the irregular for the main group. So, Tiger Creatures moving forward with Impetuous, not coming into line of sight of the Grenza, just improving their position wherever possible and taking up all spots. This is what makes them so dangerous. They have 6th sense to get that zone of control dodge from beyond walls and start dodging 3 inches. They, of course, can dodge in a 16, even when they can't see you, because, again, 6th sense allows that. It's just really, really good ability. And for 6 points, they are just such a steal. Avatar moves up, realizes that we can't really deal with the Grenza any other way, and what he's going to do is he's just going to get cover from this box. Let me change color again, just because I need something that stands out. So from this box, then he's going to move along a bit, just maintaining cover, and shoot at the Grenza from along here, not being obstructed by that, and we're going to do it. So when I say to you it's 16s on 2 dice from the Grenza versus 15s on 4 dice from the Avatar, that sounds like it's kind of even odds. It kind of sounds as if, we both have an equal shot at doing damage to each other, but you have to factor in that the Avatar is damage 16, the Grenza is going to be down to armor 2 from AP with 3 from cover, so he's got to roll 12 pluses to save. Whereas the Avatar is going to be armor 5 once the AP kicks in, 3 from cover, that's armor 8. So he's got to be rolling 8 pluses to save. And he's got 3 structure points, which can be regenerated very easily this turn. The Grenza's got to wait till next turn and the benefit of a paramedic to do that. So when you're factoring all of that in, it's pretty bad for the Grenza. And what ends up happening here is the Grenza wins the first face-to-face roll by shooting at the Avatar. I managed to pass the armor save against the AP rifle shot, and then the Avatar's next volley connects against the Grenza, and he just barely fails it, and the Grenza goes unconscious. Being prone unconscious at the back of this building means that I can no longer get line of sight to him, which unfortunately means I can't finish him off, unless of course I used this Greif operator, which you can see over here. But what I ended up opting to do was starting to spend the orders on Bittenkiss after this had been accomplished. So Bittenkiss moving out towards the objective room now. They're just moving through and lobbing 3 pitches, as we talked about. Long range, so -3 to hit, and that's on 8s in Bit's case, I think 7s in Kiss's case. And you can sort of see here the problem. The Interventor, although he's BTS 9, If he hacks back, he's going to be at -3 to whip, and I'm going to get +3 for BTS, and so on and so forth. The tag, all he can do is reset. And after the dice are rolled, the pitches do in fact land. Only one of them connects, but that's all you really need. And the fun can begin here as I start trying to munch his Interventor. Again, it's not that easy. He's saving on something like a 6+ or a 5+ on the BTS roll. It's just that I'm going to be winning the roll so many more times because Bit goes up to whip 16, Interventor goes down to whip 12. I've got 3 dice, he's got 1. So what ends up happening here is that the Interventor does indeed start wasting my orders, and I've started to get right into the middle of the pool there, and he's just constantly passing the rolls, and eventually Kiss ends up getting isolated as she's trying to move back out of the room because the Interventor rolls a lucky crit. So that kind of stalls me out a little bit because although the Avatar's done reasonably well to kill the Grenza, I've put the pitches down, so that's good luck so far, but Bit being isolated is just not really ideal. It's just not great. So I'm having to switch over to Norkius here, who, to be honest, would have been the better option from the outset. I just didn't really want to risk getting him isolated because he's a little bit more important. But Norkius is whip 15, so it goes up to 18s with the Trinity. So eventually, after a lot of attempts here, Norkius does render the Interventor unconscious. But I just didn't have enough orders in the turn to be able to try for the total control onto the tag, which would have been the fun way to go. Avatar spinning the last order here, just coming back into a bit of a different bit of cover here. He's able to take this angle along here in case the Salamandra decides to take him on, but he's got enough room to push back and get into total cover, which is so crucial against the Salamandra. So you sort of make the Salamandra take a risk against the Avatar, and then if the Salamandra rolls well, you just retreat and repair, and if he doesn't do well, well, the Avatar's just winning the game, defensively, reactively. Okay, Tiger Creature's moving into the room just to help out defending these guys, and then we've got another Tiger Creature moving over here. We're playing the rooms such that, again, you can shoot into them or shoot out of them, but you can't shoot from one side of the room to another through a window, and you guys are very familiar with that from TTS, so that's why he's not poking in through the door there. Over here, the Liberto is just moving up around here next to this objective to reposition himself for later in the game. Cool, so my opponent, I didn't have the most successful first turn. It could have been worse for him, but he's still a little bit on the back foot. So moving out now with his Zond Nordica Rider and shooting at me with his combi rifle. So Zond moves up here and fires the combi rifle at Kiss over here. I believe when Bit gets isolated, Kiss can't even do anything. I think he's disconnected. I'd forgotten about that during the game, so I did attempt to glue him, but my forgetting that rule doesn't really matter because Bit failed miserably and died regardless, so it wasn't particularly important. By continuing to move out now, so over here, the Link team decided to blow up the pitcher. I kind of was a bit sneaky and maybe a little bit... I said to my opponent, "Are you sure you don't want to kill the pitcher?" As if I had like an extra spotlight and hidden deployment or something like that. My opponent sort of looked at me for a bit and so, I'm not really in risk of any spotlights, am I? And I was like, well, it's up to you. So he ended up wasting an order on the repeater when he probably shouldn't have. To be fair, if you revive the Interventor, you probably don't want the repeater sitting around there unless you plan on hacking me through it. But all in all, he spent the extra order to clear out the repeater when it might not have been necessary, but I just don't think that really made a big difference. Okay, so here comes the very, very important moment in the game, very important play here. The Paramedic is now the team leader. It is a 3-man Link team because he's lost the Interventor and the Grenza. So he can fire the pitcher twice at the Grenza, and so long as he passes one of the Fizz checks, he's going to be revived here. The Securitate hits one and misses the other, and the Grenza goes for the save, or the Fizz check. And this is an important one. If he passes it, he's back up to speed. The Avatar's got to kill him again. If he fails it, that's a piece lost, and the order's lost. And unfortunately, my opponent does fail it. I believe it's a Fizz -3 check, and I believe he was needing a 9. And 45% chance, didn't go his way, so a little bit unlucky. But these things happen. He could well have lost the Grenza just to the Avatar shooting him and connecting with a couple of hits. That could have easily happened as well, mind you. So this wasn't a shocking outcome, but just a little bit sad for my opponent here. Salamandra working out. What is the actual official title of this guy? I kind of want to just get the actual name because I play a lot of Gwent, and there's a like a sub-faction of Gwent called Salamandra, like this bad guy gang, and it's spelled exactly like this, but without the Z. It's spelled like normal salamander, but dra at the end. So yeah, maybe I think it's based on mythology. I'm not sure. Anyway, I digress. So this tag's going to move up to there because once he gets this height advantage up here, he's going to be able to get a very small line to the avatar, and that's what he wants to do. So over here, he moves up. Avatar's in the distance here, and he just basically wants to have a go at it. And let's just talk about the numbers again here. So the Salamandra will need 8s because he's Blister Skill 14, and he gets +3 for range, but -3 for cover, so that puts him back on 14. And then Mimeter's -6 will take him down, so 14 -6 is 8. And he has he has 5 dice because of the HRMC. Avatar has 1 dice, and he'll be hitting on a 15. So this is a little bit different from the Avatar versus the Grenza. In this case, like 15s versus 8 kind of means that if he doesn't crit and I roll a number that's roughly between 6 and 15, I'm likely to win the face-to-face roll, and he's going to take 3 saves against damage 16, and it's kind of annoying for him. And if he ever gets reduced to unconscious, he's got no engineer at all. So it's a little bit dangerous. If he connects with any of his shots, well, I mean, I'm armor 5 after the AP kicks in, and I've got cover, so that's 8. He's damage 16. I'm saving on 9 pluses. So he's got to get quite a lot of them through. So he needs me to kind of whiff here. And what ends up happening is I did whiff the shot. I rolled like a 19 or a 20, and he got 3 hits through, or maybe 2 hits, because he needs 8s. That's quite difficult. And the Avatar did manage to tank all of the armor saves. So kind of even-ish there. Mind you, Bit is activated by this because the Salamandra steps up and comes in line of sight of her as well. She attempts to dodge outside of the doorway. I think my opponent should have put some damage into her because, again, she's something which can hack people who go into the room. She's isolated, not immobilized, so she could move into the room in her one order. So yeah, maybe a slight misstep from the Salamandra. So you can see here the Avatar's perspective and Bit's perspective. She's isolated on the doorway. Avatar gets hit. He just moves back a little bit. Bear in mind, guys, that this building is infinitely high because of the scenario. So all of that's blocked. And this planter is counting as just total, line of sight blocking thing there. So that's sort of what it looks like. He needs to be able to get over this little corner here, over top of this bit of total cover. So I can quite easily step back behind this wall to avoid that once it comes down to silhouettes. So here he is, just hunkering down, Mr. Avatar, just laughing away, looking really good with his new camera and, of course, the photo filter. Bit has passed to a dodge and just moves out of the way, so this active turn from my opponent going very, very well for me. The big tag does move in to try and spot the Greif operator, who just holds his ground there, just decides to let him try for the discover, and unluckily my opponent doesn't discover him, so he misses out on killing this guy as well, so turn not going too well. The tag there, just shown trying to discover my Greif. Let me put this camera back. Then he decides to move back towards the back of the board here and go into suppression fire. Again, don't love this. I feel like he might be better off going a bit further back or further into total cover. He's vulnerable to the Avatar repositioning and shooting at him. He's also even vulnerable to Norkius just like running across the battlefield and whacking him. So it would be good to have a few bots and things around to help discover and flash pulse him and so forth. And by the way, guys, this is another reason why the puppet bots are just so effective. You have puppet bots in a position like this where it's just tanking hits and firing flash pulses and having the short-range boarding shotgun if anything comes nearby. It's just so good for defending a tag like this. So that's my opinion on bots. His bike retreating back over here after taking on a few different things. Here he is shown hanging out inside this room here. Just zooms out, presses the button on this console before moving out through around here, getting a bit of a combi rifle shot on the tiger creature up to the top left. Swinging around, doesn't quite get to kill anybody else here. I believe he comes up to try and take on Bit and ends up immobilizing her with a carbonite. So not only is she isolated, but she's immobilized. I think this was a little bit of an ill-advised move as well. I mean, you gain very little from immobilizing her, and you risk everything by putting your guy within range of a killer hacker who can just Trinity back to you. So I just didn't feel like that was a great choice, but it worked out in his favor anyway, and she was immobilized. And then he zooms right back here behind this building here next to the Vostok, ready to move out and punch some buttons next turn. So, Combined Army turn 2, we need to divert our attention from killing and press the buttons now, because this will really help us in the long run. Bear in mind, guys, the beauty of this mission is that it's so hard to kill the enemy and press the buttons at the same time. You sort of need to commit to one of the two, which gives players an actual thoughtful decision to make during the game, and it's about timing and resource allocation and planning. So that's why this kind of style of mission is very good. So the Tiger Creature just moving up the flank to replace his dead buddy who was previously behind the door. The other one moving through the middle of the room and then dodging out the door. And the point of this is that when he moves to here first and then dodges, he doesn't trigger any AROs during the dodge movement, but then of course he can berserk straight into the face of that poor unfortunate bike. And we can understand why people use this unit so often for 6 points. Not only is it the ultimate defensive skirmisher with its Chain Colt and Sixth Sense and dodging ability, but in the active turn, it's just trivially easy to trade a piece like this for something that's worth 30 plus points. It's just absolutely absurd, and of course in this case the bike dies, the Tiger Creature dies, and Combined Army is very happy because this is the only model in his army really which can reliably go out and press the buttons, meaning that, you know, right here this is pretty much game. The other Tiger Creature coming around the edge of the table next to the 40k terrain, and then just waiting for an opportunity to do the same kind of thing. Caliban now moving in next to Liberto to punch the button here. I can control the room with Bit moving in there, or another Tiger Creature to give me the bonus, so this Caliban's job will be quite easy. Here he is here, so that's Combined Army controlled now. The Caliban moves over here. He's going to move in to grab this objective to control that one. Then he's going to move around over here to take that one back from the Tunguska hit there from the bike. And then, of course, he's going to come and move into the room later on. So you can see we can actually sweep this side of the table, and the Avatar is going to be grabbing this one over here with the Steldron. That's going to be my turn. So here he comes, moving through, grabbing two of them and grabbing the one on my opponent's side. Then moving into the room, re-camoing, everyone's happy. The cool thing about this move is that the Caliban was bringing his Pelbot with him, his slave drone. And the slave drone being worth 3 points is enough to control the room. So the slave drone purely moving in there with the synchronized kind of peripheral movement allows the Caliban to get those big bonuses to pressing the buttons. On the Avatar's side here, again, gets the bonuses for pressing the buttons. Steldron hops out, grabs that button, and suddenly I'm up to 4 consoles pressed. And my opponent would have to basically take... He'd have to take 2 of his own, and would have to take 3 of his own and recover one of the ones that I took for a total of 4, which is just basically going to be impossible at this point. He's lost his Interventor. His only specialist really is his paramedic at this point, or the guy who pilots the Salamandra, and he's just not going to have enough time in his turns to recover them, and that's what's going to give me the win here. The Avatar going into Suppression Fire, there's a good argument to be made for him moving to the back and just hiding in total cover. But my thinking is that if he commits the turn to taking down the Avatar, I've got so much other stuff in my list which is A, powerful, and B, in position to win the game. I'm just not really going to need him anymore. So my opponent decides to take me up on that. Actually, no, we're not going to up that yet. This is the Liberto just moving to cover just a side angle next to the objective setup here. So he's just got a shotgun at the ready. Okay, so what's happening is my opponent's into turn 2 now. He's moving out with his Heckler, and the Heckler's plan is to move all the way around here using stealth and then just pop his Emirat onto the Avatar. So that's what he's going to be doing. He's committing to it, and as I said to you guys, if you're committing most of the turn to making this play, you're not really committing to grabbing the buttons, and that's eventually going to result in a loss. But taking down the Avatar is at least a big deal, or at least feels like it. So he moves in, I delay with my Caliban camo marker, and I delay with my Avatar, and then he reveals with his Heckler. And I have a decision to make here. If I dodge, it's on an 8, because I'm Fizz 11 with the Avatar, or at least I think I am. Let me just double check that. That's what I looked up in the game. So physical equals 11 for dodge, -3 for the surprise attack, takes me down to an 8. So dodging is very appealing here because if I dodge, I've got maybe a 40% chance of just ignoring the attack completely from just the dodging, and then the 60% of the time that I take the hit, I might be able to pass both of the BTS checks with his high BTS. But it's not great because I'm half BTS. Also, if I do that, the Heckler can always just try it again the next order, and I've chosen not to reveal the Caliban here because I really kind of want to keep the Caliban in the room. He's quite important to me, especially as he can grab objectives back if my opponent was to try and make some last-ditch effort to take them. Another option is for me to shoot suppression fire here. I'm at short range, I'm up against surprise attack, cover, and mimetism. So I would be down to needing 6s on 3 dice, which may not reliably kill that Heckler. The third option is to Sepsitorize him, and that's the option I ended up going for, because if I trade the Avatar for the Heckler, meaning that I go into isolated state, lost a lieutenant, immobilized, and everything like that, but I pick up his Heckler, I've at least got another model to ARO against him in his last turn. The Heckler can be turned around and just, made a nuisance of to the enemy. I could even move his Heckler to, do the Emerald on his tag just to give him a taste of his own medicine. And I just felt like the suppression fire option was going to still result in me, either killing the Heckler and being immobilized and lost a lieutenant anyway, or just not killing the Heckler. And dodging, I mean, that's sort of risking it for the biscuit. It's the highest risk, highest reward. And maybe I should have gone for it, but ended up opting for the Sepstor. I mean, if I was banking more of the game on keeping the Avatar around, I think the right option is to dodge and shoot the SMG with the Caliban. But because really I'm kind of baiting him at this point, and I can win the game without the Avatar, I opted to risk it and let the Avatar just take one for the team. So, that does come to pass that the Heckler can't pass the damage 17 BTS check and is possessed with the Sepsitorization. The Caliban stays in Camo Marker, and the Avatar is indeed immobilized and isolated, which does prevent him from using Mnemonica, and means I'm lost lieutenant for my last game turn. But because I've done the hard yards in round 2, I've pressed the buttons. Round 2 is so important for this mission, like I just told you earlier on. This isn't going to matter so much. Alright, so his tag now moves out. He doesn't like the fact that I possessed his Heckler, so he's going to move out and shoot the Heckler in the back with his HRMC. They were friends just 2 seconds ago, now they're not, and the Heckler is annihilated by this massive battle tag. Noting where he's moved his position, he decides to spend a couple more orders to move up the ladder and take on this Gryph operator here and destroys him. I don't think we took a photo of that, but rest assured the tag does go up there and does annihilate my Gryph operator before coming back down the ladder again. His Vostok moves out and tries to get some damage done. So moving around here, this is him moving to his right flank, annihilating this tiger creature who's creeping up the side. The creeping has been discovered by the robot presence here, and security has shut down the alien invaders. He then moves up on top of this building where the Liberto is positioned in the distance. Liberto decides to keep his mouth shut and say nothing, and the Vostok just hangs out. So, by the way, here's the photo of the Gryph operator just being mangled by this tag moving up there and then coming back down again. The tag doesn't quite have enough orders to move into total cover, but does retreat, is far enough around here that he's at least sort of covering this angle long range. And just a reminder to you guys, the Avatar cannot attack because he's immobilized. Whew, okay, my final turn. There is a slave drone right next to the Avatar positioned here. So he moves around here, isn't in line of sight of the tag yet, and with the next order, because I can flip over a command token to turn an irregular into a regular, the slave drone comes over here to try and revive the Avatar. Rules question, which came up in the game, if you use the engineer ability, does it remove all of the states, or just one? Do you have to pick immobilized? Do you have to pick isolated? We talked about it, and I believe the correct answer to that question is that the cancellation of states such as immobilization and isolation simply say that you have to be next to the model with an engineer and pass a willpower check. There's nothing about specifying what the willpower check's for. You just have to pass a willpower check. So the engineer just moves there and passes a willpower check, and that check can be used for any of the state removal. The only thing it can't do is cancel unconscious state. That's a different kind of category of thing, and in this case, the slave goes over there, revives the avatar, but doesn't heal any damage. That's okay. He wasn't damaged anyway, so we can move on. So, since I have 1 or 2 command tokens left, and of course the avatar has his own order, he moves out now, and shoots at the tag from long range. This is him on 18s versus the Salamandra on 11. Unfortunately, the tag doesn't do particularly well here and only cuts down 1 wound off of him. He then pulls back a little bit. The avatar has 1 more attempt. This time the Salamandra has cover. It's some brutal tag-on-tag action. The avatar is thirsting for revenge and does shut him down, makes him unconscious. Norkius has his own order spin, so he runs and then does a diving, long-range dodge, which he's very, very good at, and moves 10 inches because he's very quick. And then spends another one moving all the way into the room because he's so speedy like that. And at this point, I run out of command tokens and the turn is over. But I score 4 objective points here, 2 for controlling the room, 2 for having more consoles bashed. And as you can see, it's going to be extremely difficult for my opponent to both move into the room and kill everybody in the room, and to take the consoles back, so it should be an easy win. If you look at this sort of scenario here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 objectives. He has basically no specialists, and I've got 1, 2, 3 models in the room. Oh, in fact, it's only those 2. It's the Caliban and Norkius. And of course, this avatar is actually still on arrow duty, which is kind of crazy. My opponent still has a go at it, though. He moves his Vostok down from the building, moving around, just trying to get into range here. Norkius dodges out of the room towards him because I wanted to tie him up in close combat. He then activates the pilot of the tag, who happens to be a killer hacker, and gets lucky and actually kills Norkius. So a good little bit of luck there for Tunguska ending the game. The bot moves around to shoot at the Caliban, again, gets some good dice rolls and eliminates the Caliban. So that stops me from scoring the 2 extra points at the end of the game. But my opponent, my opponent does shoot at him, and then he squeezes through the gap, because apparently if you go prone, you become silhouette 0, which technically allows you to move through the gap in the wall, the door. So the bot does go into the room, securing him 2 points at the end. So the final score here is 7 for me, because I, in turn 5, had the room and the consoles for a total of 4. I have the consoles at the end of his turn for another 2. That takes me to 6. And I have army kills for the 7th point, whereas my opponent has 2 points for having the room at the end of his last turn. So it's a 7-2. We forgot about data trackers, so they aren't going to be factored in. You would have had to kill the enemy data tracker for that to have been working anyway. So there you have it. That was Info Sweep, and that was the game. Finally, before we go, a quick conversation about game balance. If we look at these lists, I feel like this combined army list is not just very strong for combined army, it's very strong in the meta, just because every single profile here is undercosted. Every single profile just does more than it should for the points. And if you're deploying against this thing and, Avatar's going first because he won the roll, because he will power 17, you have to consider, are my ARO pieces just going to get blown away by that Avatar? If so, do I hide things? If you hide things, are those tiger creatures going to come across the table and, just munch you and berserk you? Or is Norkius going to, spread his way through the gaps and go into Marcus State and then jump on your guys and just eliminate them one by one with Pathion? Or is Bit and Kiss going to fire the repeaters next to me and my hackers all going to die? That kind of thing. And when you're attacking the combined army player, well, there's an Avatar on arrow duty. Have you got a gun that can beat it? And if the Avatar's not doing that, or just jumping back behind cover, can I slip past the screen of tiger creatures without taking crippling damage? It's just hard. So when you think of a faction like Star Martyr or US Ariadne, do those factions have any pieces which are the equivalent power level of the Avatar? Do they have skirmishers which are as cost-effective at trading with things as the tiger creatures? Do they have anything with such nutty rules as Norkius? Can they reliably put creatures down like Bit and Kiss can? And the answer is just no. There's no equivalent of that. Look at a faction like Imperial Service, which is kind of weak in the meta right now. They just don't have those overpowered and undercosted options. So there are some factions in this game right now which are kind of making the meta a little bit problematic. Combine Army is one of them. Tunguska, I feel like, is kind of average, but vanilla Nomads, because they have the Puppet Bots, and the Uberfall Commandos, and Bet and Kiss, and the Morans, and the Salamandra in there, and the cheap Zeros, they can sort of contend with this kind of list, because they have a lot of bonkers stuff as well. Then you look at a faction like Hakislam, which has got the Asawiras, which are just, crazy efficient, crazy, value there. Or OSS, which has got the huge muscle Dakini Link team, stuff like that. So, yeah, I feel like the disparity between the strongest factions and the weakest is a little bit wider than it was in N3, and this kind of game, this kind of list, does sort of show that. You've got a basic Tunguska list, which could be better, but overall you can kind of see that it's crutching a little bit on the Grenza Sniper, and once you lose that, the various pieces in this list, although they are good, they aren't quite of the same, busted, crazy efficiency as these ones are. Alright, I'm going to call it in, guys. Almost an hour-long bat rep. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit me up with a comment, and we'll see you guys soon with a bit more content. This has been a VaulSC bat rep.